Hello everyone, good evening, good Saturday evening, and welcome to Roma Theory. This is a very important live stream because yesterday, I didn't go live yesterday. I was supposed to go live for this video yesterday, but then I ended up going to the stadium. So yeah, I didn't find time. But you all read yesterday's rumors of Mourinho's will to extend, getting that extension, and there are rumors that he could potentially go live in an interview declaring his will to stay and try and put pressure on the Fredkins to offer him that contract extension, which is a variable which doesn't depend on him because the contract says it expires in June, the 1st of June 2023. So it's a decision which Mourinho can try and fuel up to and put pressure to, but ultimately it's not a decision which he can make. And we'll discuss this today. I'm going to read an article describing the situation. We're going to speak about this, and we're going to speak about this decision, which is a big decision. Again, these are rumors. This is not Mourinho publicly saying that he wants that contract extension. These are rumors coming from the Roma environment, from journalists who spend 7 days per 7 in Trigoria, around the Roma atmosphere. They know what circulates around that area, those territories, the vibes. So these are very interesting sources, and we will and have to know in the near future if this is true or not. When I say have to know, it's something we'll get into in a second. But I want to open the scenes and the dances with the article, which is a very good article, which has also been contributed by Lorenzo Pes. If you remember, if you've been an OG subscriber, you know we have actually, the journalist who wrote this article actually came on this channel to speak about transfer news a few years ago. Maybe we can grab him on in the near future. But yeah, again, I'm not going to waste your time. This is the article. A precise, convinced will manifested through gestures and words. Jose Mourinho wants with all his heart to remain on the Roma bench, writes Lorenzo Pes in Il Tempo. From the promise to the footballers after Budapest, to the praise for the city and the fans. The Portuguese feels loved and in turn loves his life in the capital. He loves his group of players even if many are not considered up to par by himself. He feels he still has an unfinished business with the city and with Roma fans, an unfinished journey stopped by Anthony Taylor in Hungary. Jose Mourinho is ready for extension. Indeed, he is about to declare it publicly in an interview that should be broadcasted next week. This is the rumor launched this morning by Teleradio Stereo. According to the broadcaster, the Portuguese coach would like to stay and will declare on public TV, on national TV, that he is available to negotiate the renewal expiring in June with the club. An official expectation, therefore, after the rumors in the recent weeks. For now, the Fredkins have not contacted Mourinho, probably postponing the choice until the beginning of 2024. Now we only need to wait and understand if there will be the same intention on the ownership's side. Very good article. Very good article. Very good article. Which depicts the current situation very, very well. This is not a decision which involves Mourinho. This is the decision which 100% depends on the will of the ownership, because the contract says that his contract ends in June. So the only thing that Jose can do is put pressure and pressure and pressure and pressure. But he knows that the final decision will not lay on him. It will lay on Dan, Ryan, with the help of Lina Saluku, to decide what's best, if the extension will be the best thing or if terminating the project will be the best thing. There is no doubt hesitation. There is, without a doubt, it doesn't take a genius to understand that there are doubts among the ownership, that there are skeptications. No, you definitely can't say that. There are doubts. There is a hesitation within the ownership in making this decision. And when I say it doesn't take a genius to understand this, it doesn't take a genius to understand this, because if there wasn't any hesitation, Mourinho would have received a contract extension after last season ended. It's a very critical situation because our ownership doesn't speak, and this doesn't help. And this is exactly what brings Mourinho to ultimately think of putting pressure by saying things publicly, by saying things in front of national TV, because he knows that the decision isn't on him, the decision is on them, and he understands and he has understood that the decision isn't a clear decision, that they're hesitating, they don't know what to do. So what this article is trying to say is that apparently it's been rumored that Mourinho could next week have released an interview kind of saying and declaring his will to stay here. So the rumor is that this week there is going to be an interview where Mourinho publicly says that he wants to stay and that he wants an extension. That will then obviously be used to put pressure on the Fredkins. But, this article says it very well. Decision needs to be made by early 2024. It needs to be made by early 2024. Because if we advance in time, if we head into February, if we head into March, and we don't know if we will keep or not keep our manager, it's going to bring further turmoil. We don't know who our general director will be. We don't know who our manager will be. The decision needs to be made. The decision of, it's not a complicated decision. It is a complicated decision, obviously. But we need to know if it's a yes, Mourinho's staying, or if it's a no, Mourinho's not staying, by January 2024 at the latest. Because we need to start thinking about the future. We need to start planning for the future. And we need to make premature decisions, early decisions, to avoid further delays, further turmoil, and all of that chaos which could happen if we leave everything to the very last minute. There is hesitation, and Mourinho wants to put this pressure. If you ask me, why are the Fredkins hesitated? In my opinion, it's more than the non-football tactics. It's not that. Let's be honest. The reason why the Fredkins are considering changing manager is not because of the tactics. In my opinion, it's because the relationship between the two hasn't been great, in a sense that the ownership hasn't particularly accepted how Mourinho kind of gave these unnecessary criticisms towards them. I'm mentioning all of those times in press conferences or in post-match interviews where Mourinho has gone, oh well, this ownership isn't a serious ownership, this club isn't a serious club because they don't back me, they don't speak. And as much as that could be true, because ultimately that is true. If he's the only one who speaks and he doesn't like that, he is obviously going to say that. But the way Mourinho has said these things publicly, out loud, in front of everybody, in front of the cameras, in my opinion, is the reason which has broken down this, could we say, initially beautiful relationship between the Fredkins and him. And again, it's kind of how the world works. If you go and this is, again, I'm the last one who can say this because I'm still at school and I don't have a job. But it's common sense that if you get appointed for a job, you can't just clash against your boss because the boss will fire you. Because if you clash against the boss and kind of criticize what the boss does to you publicly so that everybody knows, it will then ultimately remove the credibility towards them. So of course you can say these things, but you can't say these things publicly. You got to say them. You got to go. Sorry, Dan. Don't. Could we have a little chat? I think I would rather have somebody who backs me when I go against referees, because things aren't working out. We have to make this step where we can't be harassed by referees or by unfair decisions. And that's not what Mourinho does. If Mourinho has a problem, he goes in front of TV and goes, "This is not a serious club." So, in my opinion, it's that. It's not the tactics. I'm the first one to say I have nothing against Mourinho extending. I would like Mourinho extending. I think the positive factors of Mourinho extending his contract outweigh the negative factors. I can only find two negative factors. The two only negative factors are this thing, which doesn't involve me, it involves the ownership, but this constant, criticism. And number two is the tactics. Other than that, Mourinho fulfills every criteria of a manager that I wants. Loves the team, fights for the team, is passionate, is the first fan, and that's ultimately what you want your manager to do. I think it's going to be very complicated, if not impossible, to get a new manager who loves the team more than Mourinho, who says the truth more than Mourinho, who is a master of communication more than Mourinho. It's impossible. So the positives outweigh the negatives. So I have got no problem. But the point here is, decision needs to be made. Decision needs to be made also for the fans, because the fans need to know what happens at their football club. Roma isn't something which the Fredkins own. Roma is for the fans. This football team is what it is because of the fans. And the fans need to know what direction this club is going to. The fans need to know the changes that this club and that this team and that these players could undergo at the end of this season. So with that being said, decision needs to be made. Again, if this interview thing is true, that would once again highlight the power of communication which Mourinho from Setúbal has. But a very important thing is, which kind of adds on to what I'm saying, I don't have a problem with Mourinho extending, but Mourinho extending his contract shouldn't be a promotion to continuing the project we're in. And this is very important. This is very important. This is my opinion. Everybody can have their own opinion, and as I've said many times, it's the beauty of this game. But if we extend Mourinho, great, but there needs to be changes. In a sense that if we keep Mourinho, part of me says the project needs to change. And look, Mourinho is a manager who's built on having massive players in his team and ultimately have immediate success. I think it's fair to say that Mourinho himself and everybody here has understood that that is not possible at this football club. And if there is still, after 3 years of me going live every single day, if there is still somebody who goes, well, why doesn't Roma spend 80 million, 100 million, 120 million like Premier League sides and transfer windows? You haven't learned shit over the past 3 years. Mourinho is built on immediate success. It can't happen here. It cannot happen here because of sanctions, because of power which we don't have, because of money that we can't spend. But something tells me that if Mourinho wants this extension, he's understood this and he's gone over this. Immediate success at this football club cannot happen, which is why I am saying, great, Mourinho extending, but the project needs to change, because FFP will continue to hang over a cliff. Difficulties in transfer windows is going to continue. And therefore, if we continue with this project of immediate success, buying injury-prone players who are considered good players, but then they come here and they barely play, if we continue with this project, it's not going to work out. And it's not an 18-year-old called Simo saying this. It's the results which show it. This project, apart from that Conference League final, and this project is based on reaching Champions League. It's based on reaching Champions League football. But it clearly isn't working out because for the past 3 years, we haven't qualified for the Champions League. Therefore, the Mourinho got appointed with the objective of bringing Roma playing in the Champions League in the space of 3 years, within 3 years. That clearly isn't working out, which means the project isn't working. Which I'm not saying if the project isn't working, we gotta sack the manager. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying great, Mourinho extending, but Mourinho extending doesn't mean and shouldn't mean, again, same project, because again, it clearly isn't working out. The transfer windows are clearly not working out. The project itself is clearly not working out. So Mourinho extending, in my opinion, should not be a hesitation of starting something new. And I know Mourinho isn't a player who loves young projects. And when we were mentioning clear outs a few days ago, if Mourinho extends, there's not going to be a major clear out. But if Mourinho extends, the first step which I want to see is better scouting department. Already, if you extend Mourinho and get a better scouting department, we will see benefits. We will see us improving. Transfer windows, apart from Lukaku, Tammy Abraham and Nemanja Matic, over the past 3 years have been utter failures. They have. Which again, it's because we can't spend money. It's because of all of that. So, Mourinho extending great, but I want to see changes. And this potential extension shouldn't limit ourselves to try something new. That's my objective here. Another reason of why the Mourinho extension could happen, is because maybe the Fredkins want to sell, and whoever comes next as ownership has Mourinho as central in their project. And that's obviously something which we mentioned already. If the Fredkins get the impression that that stadium won't be built anytime soon, they're going to sell. And if they sell, they cannot decide the future of this club. So if in February the Fredkins sell, then they should withdraw themselves from the decision making, because it's unfair. Because what if you don't extend Mourinho's contract and then the new owner that comes in wants Mourinho in? And again, I'm not saying the Fredkins are going to sell, but if they are considered to sell, if they're considering the selling process, then okay, but you got to withdraw from the decision making. With that being said, I take this as positive news, but I take this as great news if with this there comes a change. There comes a change. I've said this yesterday. I was very anti-change a few years ago. That Budapest final has changed me. And I want changes. There needs to be changes. Because if we continue like this, buying injury-prone players, buying big players on loans or big players on permanent moves, isn't bringing us nowhere. Unless we get Champions League football at the end of this season. If that's the case, then this whole past 20 minutes should be forgotten in the history of humanity. But that's only if we get Champions League football. If we don't get Champions League football next year, what happens? What happens to our finances? What happens to our transfer window? It's a mess. And it means that the project has been a failure. So look, we'll see what happens. I'm very curious to see if this interview does happen where Mourinho publicly declares his will to stay here. I don't know if it will happen, but if it does happen, I think it could be seen as a big step. And if it does happen, then the ball is completely in the hands of the Fredkins, who need to make a decision. By January, latest February, we need to know if Mourinho will stay or not next year. Look, the Fredkins don't speak. So it could also be said that the Fredkins already know what the future of this club is. Because they don't speak, because they normally do a lot of things behind the scenes, it could also mean that they don't want to extend his contract and they've already contacted new managers and have secret agreements. That's something which I can't tell. I'm not Dan Fredkin. I can't make the decision of whether Mourinho stays or not. I'm an opinionist. I can give opinions. I can chat, comment, and opinionate, but I can't make decisions. And that's the way it is. So yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. Enjoy your Saturday evening. I've read all of the comments. I've read them. I haven't read them out loud, but I know the views of a lot of you guys. I've understood them. So I'm going to catch you soon. Don't forget to smash like, subscribe to the channel. If you're interested, go watch the Italy Stadium vlog yesterday, which was posted yesterday. And yeah, talk to you soon. Take care. Enjoy your Saturday evening. And I'll talk to you very, very soon. See you all.